Okay, we'll get started in a minute. Just give the chance live a start to chance to settle down, and then we'll get stuck into it. Okay, let's let's get going then, eh? So NQ, right? It's obviously been on a bit of a tear, and so one of the things that we just want to do is identify where are the key zones within the week ahead, and where's the potential for price to go to. So when we're marking this out, we just want to know roughly where the zones are where we're going to get a lot of interest. Now we scalp, and so for us, whether we want to wait for the zone to get hit and then scalp in that zone, or try to catch a bit of a move down, really is where we want to be looking. So I'm going to start off by, just as I always start off, the kind of exercise here is to map out and understand the market structure, to the key levels between your swing range. And we also want to know within that swing range on the current higher term time frame, where are the key zones within that. So that's going to be internal liquidity, right? So that's the thing we're going to map out. So just for a bit of context, let's just start off by winding the clock back a little bit and just mapping out a few of the zones, to make it nice and easy for ourselves. So we get a sense on how we can build up for the market in terms of just getting those zones right. And so what I always do, keep it nice and simple to start with, right? So I just want to mark my low zone. This goes back to, what are we on, the 4 hour. Because we've got such big long swings, it makes it quite easy to be able to map out. And so, each time we do this, I'm going to just show you what I'm doing. Now, typically, this is the first zone, right? So because we're in a bullish momentum, I would have just marked that as a strong low. Now, the way I have three different areas. I have a higher term time frame, that's anything above a day. Medium term time frame, that's between 1 hour and a day. And then anything below 1 hour, I'll classify as lower term time frame. So MTF, LTF, and HTF, they're all references to higher, medium, and low term time frame. So we're on the 4 hour at the moment, so that's the medium term time frame. So I'm just going to mark that as a strong low. There we go. And then typically I would normally mark this as a high, but because we've got candles in front of us, I know exactly what that is, right? And so rather than create a high, I'm just going to mark it as a structural break. Okay, so I'll mark that off as there, and then we'll call that an upshift on a medium term time frame. So MTF up, and that just marks that. So whenever we get a shift or a break of the previous high, we want to bring our lower term time or medium term time frame strong level to the lowest part of that move. So that becomes our new structural low, and it's strong, right? Because when we're in a bullish trend, we anticipate that markets continue to move up, and therefore we should expect that the lows hold. Moving on then, again, I won't bore too much here, so I just want to mark this one off, which would be the next structural break. Now, I class a wick as a breaker structure, simply because it's taken the liquidity, right? It's taken the liquidity. If it was strong enough to hold, then it would hold without breaking that liquidity. But because it has broken that liquidity, for me, I class that as a break. So I'm going to do the same again. That's now my structural low. This becomes my medium-term time frame upshift. And then what we do then is we have to say, okay, well, if that's the break, we're just going to mark out some dots, keep things nice and easy. These are the swing ranges, right? So that was not the low, yeah, because the reason that's not the low is because we didn't break with that move. We have to mark that as the low. We mark that as the high. Then we have to mark this as the low, because why? Yeah, we broke that again, didn't we? So again, keeping things nice and simple. We have a new break here. By the way, I'm not feeling too clever at the moment, which is why my voice sounds terrible. It's definitely not hungover. Medium term time frame up shift again. So now we have to mark the level here, and we have to have our high here. So now we've got our true range for the week, right? Which is great because that's what we want to understand. We don't really want to look at the daily or the weekly or the monthly at this stage because ultimately we're only trading week by week, yeah. So this becomes the week high, lower, medium term time frame. Weak because we expect it to break because it's bullish, but this is the range that we're interested in for the week ahead, right? This is what we want to know. So realistically, we probably anticipate at some point during the week we'll probably break this high. If not, it will just be classed as internal range, right? But is there a reason why we may want to break this low? It's possible, for sure. We should never discount that. However, we anticipate while we're in a bullish trend that it will hold. Okay, so I want to, now that we've kind of mapped out the areas of interest to us in terms of at least the market structure, we've got our highs and lows and our swing points. I want to go into the 1 hour. And so here's where we have a little bit of a spanner in the works, right? Because this was, theoretically, you could argue that that this should really be the point at which we shifted above. But because it was on a higher term time frame, and we didn't, it was recognized as a little tiny wick, and I'm going to let that one slip, but it's definitely subjective. I'm going to allow that one to be where it is. However, what I would say, right, is on a lower term time frame, like the 1 hour. So if this is a medium term time frame low, and that's a medium term time frame high, I would still go with this here, right, as a lower term time frame strong, right? And I'll just label it, I'll color it blue now. It doesn't really matter what the color is. But we've got some interesting points here because on this time frame, right, you've got to ask yourself a couple of questions. If we look at, if we put our weekly and daily separators on, right, that's a typical week. So where we get this dotted line here, that's the start of a trading week. We have Monday, we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, right, where we finish here. This is the trading week, and so you can see within that week the swing or how far we move, and so calculating your range. Realistically, there's every chance that price can come right back into this zone here for sure. But the question is, as traders, we've got to think, what would be the relevance of coming into this zone here in terms of liquidity? Because that's what the market's always seeking, right? It's always seeking liquidity. So if you look here, there's no imbalances. This is all very balanced price action. I'm just going to zoom into this little area here. You see, even this big long candle, it was wicked right the way down here. There's a tiny, tiny gap, but for me, not significant enough to create a big push or drive towards going for that liquidity. All of this price action here is balanced. This original one was balanced down by here, and so the focus for me has to be this area here, right? So if we think about it, we've got some key zones in this area that I'm going to focus on, where I would suspect would be the areas to go for, where I'd expect price to come back into it for getting internal liquidity. Because the reason I say that is because if price, in my opinion, and I mean this, if price comes down into this zone, then I think it's going to go lower because it will go for the liquidity down here, which would be the session low for the previous week, right? That's effectively where it would go, and it would break this structure. If it goes beyond this point, I would expect that it would go further down, simply because there's no more liquidity down this side beyond this point. When I say no more liquidity, I'm talking big liquidity pools, right? External liquidity is the next level, which would be here, simply because this is so balanced. It's a very well balanced piece of price action. And so let's just do some marking off. Let me see. Yeah, I'll do the 2 hour actually. Yeah. So, actually, no, I'll stick to the hour. On the 1 hour time frame. First thing I want to do is just map out my value range, right? So just looking at where the value sits in terms of mapping out, because realistically, what I'm not going to do is map the fair value gaps in this range. You could argue that we've been mega bullish, and so retracements in a really bullish trend don't have to go that far, or don't have to retrace that far into the, to where it's going to go. So, that's entirely up to yourself on what you think. But for me, I wouldn't seek value in getting into a trade for a reversal if it's only coming into this zone. I'd absolutely want to wait until it comes into this zone. So let's just do some marking off. First one we've got, that's a really key zone, is there, right? Imbalance. There we go. Then we've got another imbalance here. But it's a little bit small, right? Not too fussed on that one. See what I will do, actually. Got that zone there. We have this zone here. And of course, just above, we have that zone. But like I said to you before, these zones in this area, I'm not too interested in. I just don't think there's any validity in them zones. I think it will come for them zones without problem. For me, the value will be here if we maintain bullish. So then, what else do we have? We also have the order block for the zone, which is here, right? So we're going to mark that as an order block. Let's color that green, actually. Order block. Okay. Change the color of the style to green. Nice. Okay, we've got that imbalance there, and we've got this. I'm not gonna. I'm not even gonna classify them, if I'm honest. So let's delete them. But we've got a tiny order block here. Just zoom in a little bit here. Let's mark that white. And again, let's just type imbalance. So we have two nice imbalances, and we also have an order block in that zone. So if I was rating these in terms of retracements, I would absolutely, where are we? I would go, that would be there. And then I would say, that would be there. I would have, this is my probably favored zone for where I expect price to come into to get a groundswell of orders. You can clearly see, we got volume here. What are we looking for, right? What creates an order block? Firstly, there's three things, right? You want to create a fair value gap whenever we get a market structure shift, and there is a clear market structure shift, right? This is about as easy as it gets this for identifying, in my opinion. This is a lower term time frame upshift. So we have nice clear movement, big volume. That's the other thing I'd like to see. Huge volume move, big structural shift, breaking that previous high, which it definitely does, leaving behind imbalances on the way. And so when I'm looking at this week, absolutely my bias is short for the start of the week. Monday into Tuesday, maybe into Wednesday, coming down into these zones, and then I'm gonna aim to go long once we come into these into these zones. So, if I'm kind of planning a week ahead, it's gonna look a little bit like this. I'll bring us into, say, Tuesday/Wednesday. Yeah, something like that. That's how I think the week's gonna go, and I will be aiming for pretty much shorts from Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday, just how I see it. They're the two zones that I like. However, what I would say is it's absolutely and entirely possible that price can slip down further. But if price does slip down beyond this move here, then I would flip bearish, because that's the higher term time frame move, right? That's the move that I would expect if price comes into this zone here. That I'd expect price to go even beyond that. I just think because price has been so bullish, the news that it came out, the markets last week just were on an absolute tear, and so I find it hard to think that price is gonna kind of swell back down. What I do think though is I think it's not just going to continue up. I think it needs to come down for some liquidity. I think it will be internal liquidity. And I think these are the zones that it's going to come into, specifically this order block here. This is a perfect order block, and this is probably my main focus for when I'm going to go long. Until then, my bias will be short Monday, Tuesday, flipping bullish once we come into this zone for the remainder of the week, I would suspect. So that's pretty much it, really. Pretty straightforward, as I say, on the 4 hour. Nice, easy, clean charts. Very easy to identify the breaks. Really easy to identify the swing range. We had a little bit of a wick here, which made things slightly challenging. But, how I see things is pretty clear, I think. Nice, big, strong move to the upside. We'll come back into this zone. I don't think we'll break this, in my humble opinion, because if we break this price action is way too balanced, in my opinion. So if we go beyond this, I think it would aim for the session low, or the weekly low rather, which would be the previous week's low. And if we go for the previous week's low, then I think potentially that's a change of or a shift in the bullish run, which I'd anticipate coming down. But if you look at price action, it just doesn't seem to slow down, right? So my opinion is, until we get any significant sign of weakness, you've just got to remain bullish. But one thing to note, I always like to kind of spot this, is Tuesday/Wednesday always appears to be the low of the week. Here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday low. Monday, Tuesday was the low. Monday, Tuesday was the low. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was the low. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, well, Thursday was the low here before it ripped up into Friday. But what you always tend to find is that midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday tends to be the low. So that would make sense to me in terms of how previous price action's gone. So that's it, really. Didn't want to come on and take too much of your time. Just wanted to do a quick analysis, and I'll see you guys in the next one.